The first time I realized the alien children were starving, one of them collapsed at my feet and whispered my name like a prayer I didn't deserve. I wasn't supposed to be there. No humans were. The derelict orbital ring above Earth had been declared a quarantine zone after first contact went wrong, after cities burned and treaties shattered. But the ring still had shadows, and shadows still had life. That was where I found them. Or maybe where they found me. 5 of them. Small. Thin. Skin like moonstone and eyes too large for their faces, glowing faintly in the dark. They watched me the way feral animals watch a fire. Afraid, but desperate. And when the smallest one fell, I dropped my ration pack without thinking. That choice changed the fate of the galaxy. But I didn't know that yet. Back then, I was just Jonah Reed. Former relief worker. Former Earth citizen. Former believer in systems that promised protection and delivered graves. I scavenged the ring to survive, fixing broken hydro lines and stealing power where I could. Every day was about calories and oxygen. About staying invisible. Then the kids started waiting for me. At first, I thought it was a trap. Aliens didn't beg. Not the ones we'd met. They conquered. They calculated. They exterminated if necessary. That's what the news feeds had shown before the feeds went dark. But these children didn't carry weapons or scanners. They carried hunger. So I brought food again. And again. Every day, I cooked what little I had in an old maintenance bay warmed by leaking reactors. Protein mash, algae bread, whatever scraps I could trade for. I didn't speak their language, but hunger doesn't need translation. They sat in a quiet line, hands folded, eyes shining, as if lunch was a sacred ritual. I told myself I was doing it because it was right. But the truth was lonelier than that. They made me feel human again. Their names came slowly. Sounds I couldn't pronounce at first. Soft. Musical. One of them, the eldest, a girl with silver markings along her cheeks, started helping me cook. She watched everything with intense focus, as if memorizing me. Sometimes I caught her staring when she thought I wasn't looking. Like she was afraid I might disappear. I should have wondered why alien children were hiding in a forbidden human structure. I should have asked where their parents were. I should have run. But hope is quiet. And danger rarely announces itself. That was only the beginning. Weeks passed. Then months. The ring's orbit decayed slowly, dragging its shadow across Earth's scarred surface. Down below, the planet healed the way it always had, through fire and forgetting. Up here we survived in fragments. The kids grew stronger. Their laughter echoed in the bay, light and strange and beautiful. Sometimes they hummed songs that made the metal walls vibrate softly, like the station itself was listening. I noticed things then. How their skin shimmered faintly when they were emotional. How the air bent, just slightly, around them when they argued. How broken machinery nearby sometimes repaired itself overnight. I told myself it was coincidence. But deep down, I knew better. One night, while I was scrubbing a pan, the silver-marked girl asked me a question in broken trade speech she'd clearly been practicing. "Why do you feed us?" she said, voice trembling. "When your kind fears ours?" The pan slipped from my hands and clanged against the floor. I wanted to say something noble. Something brave. Instead I said the truth. "Because you're hungry." She stared at me for a long time. Then she nodded, as if I'd confirmed something important. Something terrifying. What I didn't know was that every word I spoke was being recorded. Every kindness analyzed. Every meal weighed against centuries of alien logic. And somewhere far beyond the ring, a throne room of living starlight had gone very, very quiet. None of us were prepared for what came next. The turning point came on a day that smelled like burnt bread and ozone. A human patrol breached the ring. Sirens screamed. Red lights flooded the corridors. The kids froze, eyes wide with terror. They knew those sounds. Fear, it turned out, was universal. "Hide," I told them. "Now." They didn't argue. They vanished, not ran, vanished, slipping into folds of space I couldn't see. All but the silver-marked girl. She hesitated, reaching for me. "Jonah," she said, voice cracking. "If they take us." "They won't," I said, grabbing her shoulders. "I won't let them." I meant it. Even though I had no weapon. Even though the patrol was armed with pulse rifles and old hatred. When they burst into the bay, I stood alone, hands raised, heart hammering so loud I thought it might give me away. "Where are the aliens?" the commander demanded. I swallowed. "There are no aliens here." He smiled the way predators do when prey lies badly. That's when the air shifted. Reality bent. And the children returned. Not hiding. Standing. The temperature dropped. The walls hummed. The patrol's weapons flickered and died. The kids' eyes glowed like newborn stars, and the silver-marked girl stepped forward, fear replaced by something ancient. Authority. The soldiers fell to their knees without understanding why. And I realized, far too late, that these were not refugees. They were royalty. That revelation shattered everything I thought I knew, but it was only half the truth. The patrol retreated in silence, dragged away by forces they couldn't fight. When the bay finally grew quiet again, I turned to the children, my chest tight with awe and terror. "What are you?" I whispered. The silver-marked girl looked at me, tears streaking her glowing cheeks. "We are heirs," she said. "And our mother is coming." The galaxy changed its posture after that. Ships appeared at the edge of the system. Vast, elegant, impossible. Not an invasion fleet. Something worse. A procession. The ring trembled as space folded inward, and a vessel of living crystal emerged, its presence pressing against my mind like gravity. The children stood perfectly still, heads bowed. "She rules all known stars," the girl said softly. "And she knows about you." Fear finally found me. Not fear of death. Fear of judgment. The Empress arrived without guards. Without weapons. She stepped into the bay like a vision pulled from myth. Tall, radiant, eyes like galaxies mid-creation. The air itself seemed to kneel. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. She looked past me at her children, and something in her expression cracked. "You were hungry," she said, voice echoing through dimensions. "And he fed you." Her gaze snapped to me. Every mistake I'd ever made burned in her eyes. Every selfish thought. Every quiet act of kindness I'd tried to forget. "You are human," she said. Not a question. I nodded. "Did you know who they were?" "No," I said. "I just knew they needed food." Silence stretched. Eternity held its breath. Then the Empress did the unthinkable. She bowed. Not to Earth. Not to a flag or a species. To me. "My empire calculates outcomes," she said. "It measures worth in power and inevitability. And yet you acted without leverage. Without reward." She straightened, eyes blazing. "This confounds us. I expected execution. Or abduction. Or erasure from history. Instead, she offered me a choice. Join them. Leave Earth behind. Help raise her children between worlds that would one day kneel to them. Or stay. Remain human. Remain small." I looked at the kids, at the silver-marked girl who had trusted me with her hunger. With her fear. "I'll stay," I said. Her eyes widened. "Why?" "Because someone has to teach them what kindness looks like when there's nothing to gain." The Empress studied me for a long time. Then she smiled. The ring was spared. Earth was spared. Quietly, without announcement, the galaxy shifted toward mercy. The children left with their mother, but not before the silver-marked girl hugged me, her glow warm and steady. "We will remember," she said. "Every lunch." Years later, when the stars grew kinder and alien ships brought aid instead of fire, no one knew why. But I did. Because sometimes the fate of empires doesn't change with war. Sometimes, it changes with a meal given to a hungry child, by a man who never knew he was feeding the future ruler of the galaxy.